welcome to another episode of the Life of Elvis podcast. Today with me is Paul Levitin, a happiness and self confidence coach from New York. We're happy to have you on. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Elvis. I'm excited to be here. I'm having a great day so far.
Good, I'm glad to hear. Okay, so share your story with us.
Yeah, awesome. Like you said, I'm a happiness and self-confidence coach, but the way I got here was I was a personal trainer for almost 10 years. So I did personal training for a long time here in New York City. I worked in gyms, I did private training, and personal training, I also got involved in nutrition. So I was a personal trainer, I was a nutrition coach, and what I realized was all of that had to do with behavior, human behavior, right? How do we get people to adopt habits? How do we get people to do things that they maybe don't want to do, right? Not many people want to exercise, a lot of people want to lose weight. Not many people want to diet, a lot of people want to have abs. Not many people want to read books, a lot of people want to be successful. So I started to study human behavior and behavior change and motivation and habit building and that kind of stuff, and the kind of the science of the mental piece of humans. And what I learned from that, and also from my experience as a coach in the fitness world, was that in reality people want to be fit, but what they really wanted to be is happy and confident in their bodies and their lives. And a lot of people thought that if they lose 20 pounds or 20 kilos that they'll be much happier, they'll be more confident, and that's definitely a possibility. But what I decided to do with my coaching was to not focus on the fitness aspect of it as much and focus more on the mindset of how do we get people to just be happier and more confident regardless of what's going on in their body. And then when you throw a fit, healthy body on top of that, because I still think it's very important to be fit and healthy, that's when you have it all. That's when you really have the best of both worlds, because you're physically healthy and you're mentally healthy, and that's what a happy life is about to me. So that's where I took my coaching business.
Hmm. Couldn't agree more. So, what got you into your fitness journey in the first place?
Yeah, so I mean, fitness I got into just from, like most young guys, just being a little. I was what you would call skinny fat. I wasn't fat, but I wasn't skinny. I was like chunky and chubby little cheeks mostly growing up. I wasn't super popular with the girls, and when I was in college and university, I got into fitness a little bit because I wanted to lose weight and I wanted to be able to talk to girls and I wanted more self confidence. Right? That's what I wanted. So I thought that having abs and having big arms would do that for me. And the thing is that when I was training, this was in the 2000, around 2007, 2008. This was before Instagram. This was before Facebook was just becoming a thing. YouTube was just becoming a thing. So it wasn't like it is now, where there's fitness content was just everywhere. So I had what most of what I was learning was through magazines and blogs and stuff like that, and it was just not very good information. So I didn't get very far. I was working out a lot. I was working out hard, but I wasn't getting any good results. And it didn't make sense to me, because I was like, well, I'm doing what they say to do. I'm doing all the abs. I was doing, what people thought was the right thing back then. And I was frustrated because I was stuck. So I ended up getting a few textbooks, like actual human biomechanics textbooks, and textbooks on training modalities and like things that a personal trainer would read. So I was like, oh, I can just learn how to be a better, how to work out better for myself. And after reading those textbooks, I was looking for a job still, and I had this information in my head about how to work out better. So I was like, okay, I'll just become a personal trainer for a little while, and that'll be kind of a thing I do until I get a different job. But lo and behold, I fell in love with training for myself personally, and also as a job, because I was helping people. I was helping people be better. I was helping people be healthier. I was helping people grow. So I ended up, that became my career for, as I said, almost 10 years, until I decided to transition to more of the mindset and personal development stuff. But it's still all very related. Fitness is still very much a big part of my life.
Hmm. What kind of training do you do? What have you done?
So yeah, it depends. I mean, I've done everything in the over the years. I did for a long time very just traditional style, uh, you know, not even like bodybuilding, but just traditional lifting and things like that. Right now, I actually don't lift as much anymore. I've been doing a lot of indoor rock climbing here in New York, and I do some mobility work. I do a lot of breath work. It really just depends on how I feel and the phase that I'm in currently. I go through, because I feel like when you work, when you exercise so much, if exercise is a part of your life, as I think it should be with everyone, I'm going to have, I've been doing it for 10 years. I'm going to have another 50, 60, 70 years of exercise left. There's so much out there and you can try so many different things. So I used to think it's like, oh, it has to be this one way, right? Everyone has to lift. You have to be squatting. You have to be deadlifting. But the way I think about it now is more just like, I think that what's important is that you're exercising in some way, that you're moving your body in some way. Yes, there's better and worse ways, but for the most part, it's more important that you're doing something and that you're finding things that you enjoy, because what most people will do is they'll get bored with something, or they'll feel like, oh, I have to do deadlifts, but I don't like deadlifts, so I don't know, I'm not going to do anything because I can't do the one thing I'm supposed to do. So, I go through phases, but right now, like I said, I've been doing a lot of bike riding, a lot of climbing, a lot of breath work and mobility, and that's just kind of where I'm at now. I'm sure it'll change in the near future.
Yeah, that was a good point. Better do something than nothing. And if you find something some that's still challenging, but you can kind of enjoy it, that's the right sweet spot, I would say. For example, in my case, I do calisthenics, hardcore old school bodyweight training, and yeah, it can be pretty freaking nasty, like the 3,000 push-ups I did recently. But but at the same time, there's an element of fun that I enjoy about it. The fact that I don't need any equipment. That I just, like if I have 1 meter by 2 meters space, I can get a great workout in. Super simple, and you know. So
Yeah,
you
for sure.
mentioned breath.
I'm the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do breath work. I used to be big into calisthenics. There was a time like muscle up, right? Like a muscle up. When I saw someone do a
Yeah.
muscle up for the first time, I was like, oh, like I want to do that. So I trained for months to learn to do muscle ups. I used to do the same thing. I used to go to the park and just do, 100 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, 100 dips or something like that. And like,
Mm-hmm.
but again, like I said, if fitness is forever, you can try all of the things. There's no one, I think people too often put themselves in a little box of either just CrossFit or just, powerlifting or just bodybuilding or something like that. And it's like, you can do all of the things because you have a lot of time.
Yeah, that's true. I also learned a lot from bodybuilding, from old school strongmen. Obviously, I used to do martial arts in the past, so everything that I've learned from that stuff, even Qigong, Wim Hof method, you know, it's like Bruce Lee used to say: use what is useful, reject what is not, and add what is essentially yours.
Right. It's exactly that. And that's it, it shows exactly, right? Like you have all of these different things that you kind of pick and choose from the, like you do a little bit from martial arts, a little bit from Wim Hof, a little bit from this, and you kind of find your own way, and you found what
Mm-hmm.
you enjoy. And I think that that's, what a lot of people are missing, because a lot of people just want to get told what to do. They're like, oh, like just body, like right, like it takes, but it took time. It took you years to figure all that stuff out. So it's like you had to kind of find your own way, which is the challenge for most people, because they're like, they want it to be, that's complicated. You just told me a whole bunch of different things that you tried, and like all these different modalities, and those are the ones that you liked. There's probably things in there that you didn't try, that you didn't keep, that you didn't want to keep doing. So for for the average person who's just like, I just want to be a little bit healthier, it seems like a lot, but to me it's like, it actually makes it more, it makes it better, because it makes it yours, and it makes it something that you want to do rather than something that's like a chore. That's the whole thing. If you think that it's something that's like, oh, I have to go work out again, you're probably never going to be very consistent, because it's not something that you really want to do.
Yeah, that's true. And what you were saying, many times it comes down to the fact that people are super busy with stuff, and they think that, don't have time to research this and look into, CrossFit, calisthenics, weightlifting, and all that stuff. And that's when we guys, people like us, come into play. But still, so let's say if someone approaches you and, has this kind of mindset. I don't have the time, but I do need to do something with my health and fitness. So, what would your advice be?
Yeah, I mean, of course, exactly like you just said, right? That's the biggest thing that most people will say. So, of course, I've had this conversation hundreds and hundreds of times with people. It's to me, it's about keeping it simple because it's true. People don't have time. Most people are busy. You have a job, you have a family, maybe you have kids, you have this, you have that, you have other responsibilities. But health is important, right? So we have these two conflicting things, and that's why the most important thing is to keep it as simple as possible, right? Like for me personally, like I said, I ride my bike to the gym and then I do rock climbing for an hour and a half and then I ride home. So altogether it's like 2.5 hours or like 3 hours for like the bike ride and the rock climbing and everything like that. It's like I don't think most people can do that. It just happens to be that I'm an entrepreneur and I make my own schedule. So, and I don't have kids and I don't have a family to take care of. So it's like I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. So if someone tries to adhere to my workout schedule, if they're a regular person with a regular job or a family, it would never work for them. So you have to meet yourself where you're at and do whatever you can do. So you can't use not having time as an excuse because, as you said, you can do calisthenics, you can do push-ups, you can do squats, you can do walk up and down the stairs. That's the thing is if you think that a workout has to be like an hour long thing inside a gym with weights, then that becomes very narrow because it's like, oh well, I don't have time to go to the gym, or I don't have a gym near me, or I don't like to use weights or something like that. But if you understand that exercise can just be anything where you move your body and get your heart rate elevated, like yeah, obviously it would be nice to do a strength training routine, but if all you have time for is to, do some push-ups and air squats in between, Zoom calls in your home office, then do that. Don't hold yourself to expectations of what it's supposed to look like because that's the number one way that you're going to set yourself up for failure. So just keeping it as simple as possible if you're already low on time is a big key.
Yeah, that's true. But even if you, anyone training really, if you train above 1 hour, especially with weight training, it's probably going to be detrimental, including when it comes to your hormonal balance. So keeping it under 1 hour, that's the best. Even 30-45 minutes, you can get a pretty good workout in if you know how to do it. And when it comes to the complexity of training, many times I saw even other personal trainers at the gym just doing so many exercises and stuff, and at the end of the day, whether you're doing calisthenics or weightlifting, at the end of the day, you only need like five different movements, 5 or 6. It doesn't have to be super
Right.
complicated.
Right. For sure. That's a big, big mistake that I think younger lifters or people who are more inexperienced make, and I did for years, is making it way too complicated when it's like the fundamentals are the fundamentals for a reason.
Hmm.
Exactly like you said, if you're in the gym for 2 hours, like you probably are doing something wrong. If you're in the gym for an hour, for over an hour, whatever, if you're doing 15 different movements in a workout, like there's so many things. It's like people want it, like think that it has to be so complicated, but actually simple is usually the way to go.
Yeah. Again, like Bruce Lee used to say, I do not fear a man who trained 1 million punches once, but I fear a man who trained one punch a million times. So it's the same. Like if you do 20 different exercises in your workouts, you're probably not going to get really good in any of them. But if you really stick to the basic, if you're doing weightlifting, bench press, squats, deadlifts, if you're doing calisthenics, any progressions of push-ups, pull-ups, squats, what have you, dragon flags, you're going to get really good in it if you practice just that consistently.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, when I wanted to learn the muscle up, I did it every day. Like I went to the gym every day, and,
Hmm.
and then I went to a park that had a bar, and I practiced it every day, and I learned it in like I don't know, like a month or 2 months or something like that. Same thing, dragon flags. Like when I wanted to get good at something like that, I just made it like I was doing other stuff, obviously, but aside from that, but like I made a point to practice those things every day. And on the other side of that, when I like when I was saying when I was working out before I became a personal trainer, when I was working out for all that time and not getting any results, and I was so frustrated, Now looking back, I can see what I was doing wrong. So I would do like, it was the most the most stereotypical like crappy like gym bro workout. It was like, you know, flat barbell bench, incline barbell bench, decline barbell bench, incline bench, dumbbell flat bench, dumbbell decline bench, chest flies, high flies, low flies, or something like that. And it was just like destroying my chest for no reason, like no accessories, no, just like chest, bench. Where it's like when I actually started getting strong was when I stopped doing all of that stuff and I would just do like push-ups and then weighted push-ups and then, and then back or something like that, like, and learn. It was like the concept of like more isn't better, better is better. And it's not just throwing more and more at yourself. So people think that not having time is such an excuse. Again, that's a real reason, but the thing is, you don't need that much time. I think that's the misconception that people have. They think that this stuff has to or is supposed to be very time consuming, but you can get an amazing workout in, as you said, 30 minutes if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta work smarter.
Definitely.
Hmm. Right, and earlier you said it really all depends on your mindset. That's it's the basis of everything. If you don't have that, then no matter what kind of knowledge do you have about training, it's just useless. So these are people are struggling quite a lot with their even mental health, not just physical health. So what do you see mostly people struggling with these days?
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's two sides of the same coin. It's both, right? It's the physical and the mental. It's You can't really separate one from the other. Most people that are struggling physically are struggling mentally, and most people who are struggling mentally are struggling physically. Very rarely do you see someone who, has it all together everywhere. And the thing about the mindset piece, why it's so important, is because that's the whole thing, is struggle, right? I like fitness because it's a good analogy, but this is just about life. Good things come after hard things, right? When you're working out, it's hard, but you get a reward for that, which is a healthy body, which is fitness. That's life. Everything that you want in life comes after doing something hard. Nothing is just given to you, whether it's financial success, relationship success, whether it's a healthy body, whether it's mindset, whether it's a promotion at work, whatever the thing is, you have to work for it. But that's uncomfortable, and people don't like being in uncomfortable situations. So fitness helps with that because it literally is a perfect analogy of that. It shows you the first day you go to a gym, it's hard and you're sore and it sucks and you hate it. And then the second time you go to the gym, you still hate it. And the third time, and the fifth time, and the 10th time. But eventually it gets easier and it gets a little bit easier and you get a little bit better. And then you go and you lift a weight and you go, hey, I remember when I first started, this weight was super heavy and now it feels light, and you feel what progress feels like. You can see it on your body. You see muscle growing. You see things moving differently. You feel a difference in your body, and it's like, oh, okay, like your brain understands. Your brain go, oh, all that hard work, this is what it was for. This is why we did that. So that's the same thing again as an entrepreneur who wants to wake up every morning and work on his business when his business isn't successful yet. It's the same thing as a podcaster, same thing as a writer, someone who has to get up and write a book every day, but you don't know until the book is finished if anyone's ever going to buy it or read it, but you have to have that ability to deal with discomfort now for the potential benefit later. And if you can do that, that's how you win in fitness, in life in general.
Hmm. And I can see how this can be quite hard, especially on people these days, because they're so used to instant gratification, like just getting everything a snap of a finger. I mean, when we grew up, when we wanted to watch a TV series, we had to wait 1 week for the next episode, right? But these days, you can just binge watch everything right away on Netflix or somewhere. So it's very different.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, right? And that's why stuff like this is important, and why
Hmm.
what I do with my coaching, what you do, your podcast, my podcast, why this stuff is important is because that's what we're fighting against. None of this
Hmm.
stuff is natural. Like the world of instant gratification that we live in, where right now, if I'm bored, I can pull up my phone and have Instagram, Netflix, TikTok, Facebook, all of these things just taking my attention in an instant like this, it's not the human brain was not evolved to deal with this stuff. So we have all of these inputs that are just, it's too much, it's overwhelming. And when you have that, which is instant gratification, which feels good right now, and then you have something like fitness, which is like, it doesn't feel good, it feels bad right now, and I don't get anything out of it, meaning, again, you get something out of it a few months from now, but I don't get anything out of it today. To your brain, that's a very bad deal. Your brain is always just worried about today. Your brain doesn't care about 6 months from now. Your brain cares about right now. So right now, fitness is uncomfortable and I get nothing out of it. Right now, scrolling on TikTok gives me an instant hit of dopamine and it makes me smile and it makes me laugh. And it's very easy. I don't get sore from watching TikTok. So to my brain, TikTok is the obvious answer, even though we all know, logically thinking, that you need to exercise much more than you need to scroll on TikTok for an hour. But you're fighting against human nature, which is to err towards the easier, more instantly gratifying thing, and that's a tough battle to win. And that's, that's why I don't like, whenever I talk to people about this is not like, you're not like broken or anything. This is like, we're literally fighting against human nature.
Yeah. So how do you win the battle? I've spoken to many people, and they're like, "Man, I just can't do the first step. I know I should do this, but it's really hard."
Yeah, I mean, if I had a guaranteed answer for that, I would be a very rich person, and then the world wouldn't have an obesity epidemic where, 50-60% of Americans are overweight or obese. So it's not something that's as simple as just saying like, do this and not that. But there are ways that we can set ourselves up for success. And it's things like better planning, right? Planning what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. If you're going to the gym, that's why a lot of these things are overwhelming. If I'm just like, I know I'm supposed to work out, that's a very broad, overwhelming statement. I don't even know what that means. What does workout mean? Again, is it Pilates? Is it yoga? Is it calisthenics? Is it lifting? Whereas if I have a program written out by a trainer, by you, Elvis, that says, hey, these are you're going to train 3 days this week. It's going to be a full body day, upper body day, lower body day. Here's your exact workouts that you're going to do. Here's the exact movements, sets, reps, and everything. And it's going to be 30 minutes in and out. You're done. That takes a lot of the overwhelm off of you, right? That we just went from, I could do anything, I just know I need to exercise, to, oh, I know exactly what I need to do. All I have to do is follow this exact routine. So that made it easier for me. So we have to find little ways to make it easier. It's just like meal prepping, right? There's a reason that people who meal prep tend to get better results. It's not because anything magical about meal prepping, right? If you cook all your chicken breast on Sunday and then eat it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, versus me cooking on Monday, cooking on Tuesday, cooking on Wednesday, cooking on Thursday, cooking on Friday, there's no difference between what we're doing in terms of what we're eating. The difference is that the person who meal prepped it all on Sunday made it much easier, which is going to give them a better chance of being able to stick to it. Whereas the person who's like, I'm just going to do it every day, chances are something's going to happen. Meeting's going to run late. I'm going to be stressed. My kids are going to have me pick them up from soccer practice late. A million things could come up that now give me an excuse to not do it. So the easier we can make it and the more excuses we can take away ahead of time, the better chance that people have of being able to do the hard thing, because it's still going to be hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you were saying earlier, training is a really good analogy, because everything that we do lies just outside our comfort zone. Like if you're training and you don't push yourself outside your comfort zone, you just do the same amount of reps, same amount of weight as before, you're not going to get anywhere. So you gotta always push yourself a little bit every time.
Yeah, exactly that, right? You have to push yourself outside your comfort zone. If in training, it's the principle of progressive overload, right? And progressive overload is you have to push the muscle enough to overload it, right? It has to be a little bit more outside of your comfort zone. But the thing is that there's also, you have to progress it, right? So if I go into the gym for the first time and I've never touched a weight before, and then I pick up a 10 pound weight, 10 kilogram weight, whatever weight system you used, and it's super heavy because I've never touched a weight before, and I go, okay, now every day or every week for the next 6 weeks, I come in and I train and I train and I train, and suddenly that weight feels lighter. That weight was an overload at first. It was too much for my muscle, and that causes my body to adapt. And I adapt to that overload. So now I have to progress that, because if I just keep lifting that same weight, again, at week 0 it was impossible. Week 2 and 3 it was pretty hard. Week 4 it was decently hard. Week 5 and 6 it's like, okay, I can do this now. But now the point is I have to now then go and, okay, now I go and grab the 20. Now I go and grab the 30, because I have to keep pushing that forward, because otherwise my body is just an adaptation machine. Your body is only going to get better, or your brain as well. Your body and your brain work on the same rules. So they'll only get better if you give them a reason to. Like I said, your brain is always looking for the easiest way out. So if you lift a weight that you can already lift, it has no reason to adapt. It goes, oh, I can already do this, right? If you do, Elvis, you just told me you did like 3,000 push-ups, right? For most people that would be impossible, but for you it's not. So if you went now and did 100 push-ups, probably doesn't even register to your brain. You're not going to get any stronger doing 100 push-ups, because it's well below what you could do. Whereas someone else who barely does push-ups, if they try to do 100, it would crush them. So it's all about figuring out what is the challenge for you personally and putting yourself right outside of that comfort zone, because it still needs to be doable. When I was training clients in the gym, that was the phrase I always used, was challenging but doable. So you need it to be hard enough that it's a challenge, but it also needs to be realistic that it's doable, right? Again, if someone's never done 100 push-ups and I'm like, you got to do 3,000 push-ups today, that's impossible. They're not going to do it, and they're just going to fail, and that's going to be it's going to be demotivating for them, right? If I tell someone who's never lifted a weight that the 10-pound weight is heavy, I'm going to go, hey, lift that 200-pound barbell. Again, I'm setting them up for defeat before they start. So I need to find that sweet spot where, yes, it is challenging, it's outside of your comfort zone, but it's also a place that you can actually do it.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing that a lot of people are struggling, and which is one of the reasons why they fail, is limiting beliefs they have. So how do you approach changing these beliefs, which are sometimes really deeply ingrained?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I do with my coaching now. That's what I was saying, when we first started, was that's the kind of stuff that I'm more focused on now, is how do I help people change their internal beliefs rather than working on the specifics of their physical training, because I think that that's what holds a lot of people back. And it's there's a lot there. It depends. Different people have different things going on. A lot of it has to do with awareness, though, is the first place I start with everyone, right? Just being aware of things like, what is your self-talk like? What is your external environment like, right? If you're someone who has a lot of negative self-talk and you're like, oh, it's like, they're self-defeating, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Are you even aware that that's how you talk about things? Are you even aware that that's how you think about things? Are you following a lot of accounts on social media that make you feel bad, right? So if I'm a guy who's never gone to the gym and I just follow all of these big bodybuilders, and it just makes you feel like, oh, there's no way I could ever be like that. It's like, that's probably not helping you very much, right? Like, you follow them for quote unquote motivation, but it's actually having the reverse effect, because it's defeating you, because it makes someone think like, oh, well, there's no way I could ever be like that. I might as well not even try. So there's no one answer for this stuff. But the first step is definitely just being aware of the fact that your thoughts dictate your actions. Your beliefs dictate your actions. So you can never rise to a level higher than your thoughts and beliefs. If you don't believe that you can be a bodybuilder, then you'll never be a bodybuilder. If you don't believe that you can lift 400 pounds, you'll never lift 400 pounds. If you don't believe that you can be rich, you'll never be rich, because your brain will not allow you to do what it takes if your beliefs do not match that. So that's something to start with. And it's a complicated thing to, it's something that these are deeply held beliefs that usually stem from people's childhoods and things like that. But that's really the important stuff that I try to work with people on.
So how do you make the change? Let's say if someone has a belief like, I don't know, I've always been kind of chubby, I can't really get fit.
Right.
How do you start? How do you approach it?
Yeah, so for sure. So the first thing, right? I talk a lot about stories, right? The first question is this a fact or is this a story? Because facts and stories are two different things. A fact might be that I've been chubby my whole life, but that I can never get fit, that's a story. That's not a fact. That's something, that's a narrative that I've created in my head. So the first thing I need to do is separate facts from story. So when someone talks to me like that, I have to ask, I'm like, okay, which part of that is fact, which part of that is story? And again, it's like so there's like again, you can use this as a fitness thing, but we can also talk about it in any other way, because it can be money too, right? A lot of broke people will always stay broke because they think that that's how they're always going to be, right? Like, oh well, I was raised poor and I can never be a rich person. Well, I was raised poor could be a fact, but I could never be a rich person is a story that you're telling yourself. But as long as you continue to tell yourself that story, it will continue to be the narrative that plays out in your life. So how do we change that story? Understand that that story is not real. It's you made it up. So all you have to do is change it. Again, this is why awareness is the first piece. So if you're, again, going back to the example you gave, I'm always chubby and I can never be a fit person. Okay, I've been chubby my entire life. That's a fact. But if the story that I'm telling myself isn't serving me, can I write a better story? So can I decide that that story isn't the truth, because it's not, it's just a story, and can I give myself a better story? So can I say, I've been chubby my entire life, and in the past when I've tried to lose weight, it hasn't worked. That might be a fact. But starting tomorrow, I'm going to commit and it's going to work this time. That's a story too. I just chose a better story that actually pushes me in the direction that I want to go in. I have to just realize that, again, anything that's talking about the future, I can't do this, I'll never be able to do this, I will or I won't, it's all made up because the future hasn't happened yet. So you have to just think about, when you're choosing your words and when you're choosing your thoughts, about you can craft that yourself and use that as a tool to push yourself in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good advice. And at the end of the day, when it comes to personal development, spirituality, in general, it's all about making the unconscious conscious, basically, isn't it? Many times
Yeah,
we have all
exactly.
these beliefs and we're not really aware of it. At the end of the day, like 90% of our actions are all just subconscious. So becoming aware, that's really a big thing. Even I'll be honest with you, in my case as well, the things that I found out just within the last 7 months or so about some of the beliefs and subconscious programs that I had in me, it's crazy that I only just figured things out in my early 30s. Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's 100%, and that's important to state too, right? I'm the same way. I'm 32. I only started to really understand this stuff in the last like 3 or 4 years, and that's because I study this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, it took me a long time to get here. Again, I was a personal trainer for a long time before I understood any of this mindset, self-belief stuff, and it's exactly that, as you just said. It's about the subconscious. So that's the thing, is at first all of this stuff has to be conscious, right? It's at first you have to consciously think about your self-talk and things like that. Eventually it will become subconscious, but you have to realize that it just takes time. A lot of people will go, well, I tried journaling and it didn't work. It's like, well, how long did you try it for? Did you do it once? Did you do it twice? Did you do it for a year? I bet if you did it for a year, it would have a big difference. But I bet if you did it for one day, it probably wouldn't. Because it's just like a workout, right? Consistency is the name of the game. Oh, I tried meditating, it didn't work. Well, how long did you meditate for? Oh, I did it 5 times. Okay, well, I mean, that probably just isn't long enough. That's like someone saying, I went to the gym twice and I didn't get any results. So it's like, it's not that the gym didn't work.
Yeah.
It's that you didn't give it enough time for it to become for it to infect the subconscious of your brain. The conscious part of your brain, we can talk, it can be affected very quickly. Your subconscious mind, it just takes a long time. And that's what's hard, right? Because it's like, oh, I have to do all this hard stuff for a long time and hope that it works. But that's the thing, is it does work, right? Just like someone could say, like, well, how do I know that going to the gym is going to work? Because it is. Because that's just science. Your body will change if you give it exercise. That's just how the human body works. And the human mind works the same way. If you give it affirmations, if you give it gratitude, if you give it journaling, if you give it all of these things, all of these tools that we have in our tool belt, but you give it time as well, then you'll start to see the changes take place. And when you make those changes, again, about being more, having more gratitude, about using affirmations, about changing the story, like I said, you'll start to see the physical change too, because those are usually the things that are stopping people from taking the physical actions, right? That story of, oh, I'll always be fat. Well, if I have that story in my head, why would I ever start exercising? Why would I even try? Why would I try a diet if the story in my head is like, well, I've been chubby, I'll always be chubby. So I'm never going to do anything until I can get rid of that story. Once that story is gone and that story has been limiting me for my entire adult life, now maybe it's like, okay, like maybe I'm not always going to be the chubby kid. What would someone who's not the chubby kid do? Maybe I could go for a run or a jog, or I could eat a salad instead of a Big Mac, whatever the thing is. But it starts with getting rid of that story that isn't helping us.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's what people need to realize, that when it comes to the subconscious mind, you can't, like you say, you can't really talk to it. You can't negotiate with it, because it works on repetition. Even all the beliefs that we have, most of them, those are things we constantly were being exposed, maybe hundreds, thousands of times, things that we've been constantly told. So, yeah, it's all about the repetition there. You can't negotiate it. It just keep going. Like you say, meditating 2-3 times, not gonna do much. But if you do it 2 times a day, every day, then after a while you're gonna definitely see the results.
Yeah, exactly. I like that a lot. You can't negotiate with it. You just have to keep
Mm-hmm.
going. You have to be, dedicated. And that's the hard thing, right? That's why people are like, oh, well, like, but this is why I go back to making it as easy as possible. Because if we know that it takes a crazy amount of dedication and you have to be consistent for months, even years to get results, you want to make it as easy as possible, because if you make it hard, the chances of you doing it enough to get results are even lower. So it's already going to be hard because you have to do it for a long time. So you might as well not make it any harder by overcomplicating things.
Mm-hmm. So what's confidence according to you?
To me, self confidence is being a person who does what they say that they're going to do, keeping your word to yourself. And that's how I help people with self confidence, because that's why, again, when people think that they're going to lose weight and become much more self confident, it's possible, right? When you gain muscle, when you lose weight, when you look better, yeah. But I think a big part of the self confidence that comes from fitness comes from who you have to become a fit person. You become a person who keeps their promises. You told yourself you were going to work out 5 times this week, and you did. You said that you were going to lose 20 pounds, and you did. You said that you were going to get to the 3,000 push-ups, and you did. It's not about the number. The 3,000 number isn't magic. It's the fact that you set a goal and you worked towards it and you achieved it. And that tells your subconscious brain, oh, I'm the type of person who does what he says he will do. And if that's the case, then I can speak confidently. Whereas if the other side is that if I'm the type of person who every January 1st I set a goal, like I'm going to lose 20 kilos this year, and I never do, that sends the message to my subconscious brain that I don't that I'm a liar, that I don't take myself seriously. So if a girl comes up to me and I want to talk to her, my subconscious brain is going to go, "What are you talking about? You're full of shit." Whereas if I'm the type of person who is always keeping my word to myself, who I'm always doing what I say I'm going to do, I can say anything confidently. I can say, "Yeah, I'm Paul. I'm whatever. I do this, I do that," because my brain knows that I tell the truth. So it's all about, again, the story that I want to tell is that I keep my word to myself and to others. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If I set a goal, I achieve it. And if I do that all the time, how could I not be confident?
Yeah, I suppose you can also build this kind of confidence just by doing small things and doing them consistently, getting some small progress. Because one of the best ways how to reach your goals is, even if you have a really big goal which seems almost unattainable right now, is to break it down into smaller pieces. Like doing X amount of push-ups might be super daunting. Like, for example, the challenge that I did. Well, technically the challenge was 100 push-ups every day throughout April. So altogether 3,000. I just decided to do it all in one day. So let's say for someone it's going to be very daunting to do 100 every day. But then you can break it up. Like, okay, 100 push-ups. You can break it down to, let's say, 10 sets. Right now it's only 10 reps in a set. Right. You can split it up into 2 workouts in a day. So you do 5 sets in the morning of 10, 5 sets in the evening of 10, and suddenly it seems more realistic. And like you said, once you you've done it one day. It's like, I do this. So it's like what David Goggins, one of his techniques, and they used in, I guess you know him then. In his book that he describes is the cookie jar. So you accomplish something that you wanted to do, and then you put it into your mental cookie jar, so that when next time you're supposed to do something, you can look back and be like, okay, I did this in the past, which means I'll probably do this now as well.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's it. That's an exact technique that I use with my clients, right? It's exactly like you just said, breaking it up into small wins, because that is what tells your brain, right? So, a good example is a morning routine. A lot of people talk about morning routines, and I have one that I give away to my clients. And I can actually give you the link if you want to include it for anyone that is listening that wants to check it out. It's a free 10-step morning routine. But the point is
You can
that
put
it's
it
not,
into the
there's nothing
description.
magical. Yeah, I'll give it to you to put in the description. But there's nothing magical about a morning routine. There's nothing magical about my morning routine. There's nothing magical about it. The point is, it's 10 things. And the reason I like it is because if you do these 10 things, they're all very small. It's make your bed, drink a glass of water, journal, meditate, stuff like that. But it's like, if you do all of those things, what's the message that you're sending to your subconscious brain? You just did 10 small wins within the first 30 minutes of waking up. How powerful is that for the rest of your day? So if the 11th thing is to go get a workout, like, of course you're going to do it because you already did 10 out of 11. Why would you not do the 11th thing? It's just, it sets the tone for your day, and it trains your subconscious brain to go, oh, I can set goals and I can achieve them. Because I have this goal. I tell people to literally print it out and check it off on the checkbox, because it gives you get a feeling, you get that feeling of completion when you go, oh, check, 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 and you do all these small things, and all we're doing is training your subconscious brain that it can do hard things, and that you are the type of person who honors their commitments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very different thing compared to just waking up and just grabbing your phone and going on Instagram or, God forbid, TikTok. I hate that thing.
Yeah, even like I'm big on even snooze, right? I'm like, whatever time you want to wake up, set your alarm for that time. Don't hit your alarm and then snooze, snooze, snooze. Because again, what's the message that you're sending? I want to wake up at 6 a.m., but I snooze, snooze, snooze until 6:45. Well, clearly you didn't want to wake up at 6 a.m. that badly. So if you want to wake up at 6:45, just set your alarm for 6:45, because again, at least the message I'm giving my subconscious brain is that I said I was going to wake up at a time and I woke up at that time. Rather than I said I was going to wake up at this time and, like, whatever, I snoozed it a bunch of times and I woke up whenever. It's not that there's anything magical about that. Like I said, you're still waking up at the same time. The point is, what is the message that you're sending? And because we need this repeated message over and over and over and over and over, we want to set ourselves up for wins in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you said at the very beginning of the podcast, the goal with everything, all the stuff that we're talking about, is training, working on your mindset, having a good morning routine. At the end of the day, it's all just about being happy and feeling some love, beauty, and connection in our lives. So, what are your best tips how to be happy in life?
Yeah, I mean, so just the same thing. The self-confidence piece is a big part of it. If I had to boil down
Mm-hmm.
happiness to one thing, to me, it's not like a step, but what I think it comes from is being in control of your life, being able to be in the driver's seat rather than the passenger seat. A lot of times people feel out of control in their lives, right? And that's why being unfit and unhealthy sucks. If I'm unhealthy, I have high blood pressure, I have to be on medications, I can't eat certain foods. There's all this stuff. It's like it's not a good feeling. I want to be fit so that tomorrow, if Elvis flew out to New York and we're like, hey Paul, I want to go work out and then go on a hike. I could be like, okay, sure, because I'm fit and my body is healthy. Whereas a lot of people can't do that. They'd be like, oh, so I have a bad knee. They're too overweight. They have high blood pressure. There's a million reasons. So it's like you're not in control of your life anymore. It's the same thing with finance, right? There's nothing magical about $1 million or $10 million more than 999,000 or $9 million. But what it does, it gives you a sense of control over your life. To have financial freedom gives you control. So a happy life is one where you can control what you do in your day to day. And health is a big part of that. And now that's not to say, obviously, there's things you can't control. I can't control if there's traffic tomorrow. I can't control, again, if a pandemic hits, but I can control a lot of things in my life. And those are like my actions and my habits and my routines. So the more I can, and that's why, again, I love fitness, because fitness is something that's always within your control. I can control the exercise I can do. I control the food I put into my body. And that gives me a sense of ownership over my life. And a life where you don't have any ownership is going to be very hard to be happy and fulfilled.
Hmm. And that's the thing. Like you said, many people have high blood pressure, and they have to take all the medications and all that stuff. And the problem is that the culture that we have right now, it marginalizes people and diminishes their power. And they think that the only way out of like high blood pressure is to go to your doctors and let someone else take care of it. When in fact, you do have the power to overcome all this stuff. You don't have to be basically a drug addict just paying big pharma. You can sort out your diabetes, high blood pressure, all this stuff just through diet and exercising, and just living a healthy lifestyle. You said a good thing that I also realize many times when I talk to people, they look at me like I'm some kind of a monk or something, because I don't eat junk food. Sometimes, very occasionally, I do have something, but I don't need it in my life really. I don't smoke, I don't drink, so they're like, what's the point of living? Not realizing that because I eat healthy and take care of myself, I can do all the things that I want to do in life. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to carry on with this for quite a long time. Whereas, like, someone who is overweight and, I don't know, had a triple bypass or something like that, whatever, they can't go just anywhere, like you said, go hiking or go climb Machu Picchu or something like that, something that's really fun and enjoyable, or even just go out and run around with the kids or grandkids. So at the end of the day, you eat something unhealthy, it's gonna give you some temporary satisfaction, because I guess it tastes good and all that stuff, and triggers all the right spots in your brain. But long term, it's not gonna help you be happy at all.
Yeah, exactly that. To me, it's about that, exactly what you just said. It's that quality of life, and specifically, even more so than just yourself, right? Like you said, kids, grandkids. When people aren't doing that, they're being, in my eyes, being selfish, right? Because if you're like, oh well, why would I care about eating healthy? Because eating what tastes good is good for it tastes good right now. But it's like, yeah, but what about 10 years from now when your kids want to play and you can't bend down to pick them up? Or what about 30 years from now when your kids want, your grandkids are alive, and because you haven't been exercising and eating healthy from now, you're not, so it's very short-sighted of people. But I think that this trend is changing. That's one of the benefits of social media and the internet, is that, people are learning about this stuff. People follow people like you, people, there's podcasts to listen to, there's YouTube, there's a lot of shit information out there, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of
Yeah,
good information out there too. So I think that this trend is changing, and we're going to see, we are already seeing more and more people embracing health and fitness, and I think that we're going to continue to see that trend go in that direction.
definitely. There's so much information these days. Like you said, there's a lot of dumb information, like CrossFit being a good example, but overall, it's much easier than back in the days. You don't have to go try to find a obscure magazine to get the info. You literally have access to all the information of humanity in your pocket. So no excuses.
Yeah, for sure, totally. No, that I agree 100%.
Usually, at the end of every podcast, I ask my guests 3 questions. So, first one: if there was one advice you could give to people, what would it be?
Keep going. More time is the answer 99 out of 100 times. most of the time people think they tried something, but it didn't work, when in reality they just didn't try it hard enough, long enough.
Cool. Second question. What does masculinity mean to you?
Masculinity? Being a source of stability and a source of foundation for your community and your family. So the bedrock, the foundation that others can build on.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Like we were just saying earlier about being healthy or fit.
Right.
You can't really be a source of stability and try to help people properly if you're not healthy and fit.
Right. That's everything. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than you. Right. It's about, again, everyone else that you affect.
Yeah. You first fill up your own cup. Once you get more than you can handle, it's when you give out to other people. Right. Last question. What do you think is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life. Honestly, I think that the meaning of life is to be happy. I think that I don't know what happens before or after life. Maybe there's an afterlife. I don't know which religion is right. There's a lot out there, the universe, whatever. And if we don't know any of that, what we do know is that we get this one life. We get these 60, 70, 80, 90, maybe 100 years. And if that's all I get, then I want to be happy for most of them. I want to enjoy that time, because I don't know what happens after, but I do know that I have right now. So I live my life in a way that I will be happy and enjoy these years. And again, that includes being healthy physically, mentally, because I want to be able to make the most of this time.
And I hope this podcast will also add a bit of happiness, or at least give you some tools to our listeners to have a happier life. So, where can people find you?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Well, if anyone wants to connect with me on social media, it's just my name, Paul Levitin. So at Paul Levitin on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever. I'm happy to connect with people anywhere. Instagram is where I'm most active, but any social media platform, come check me out. And then I have a podcast called the Happy Healthy Human Podcast, and that's where I do weekly episodes as well around. If you like the stuff that we talked about here today, then you're going to love the show.
Okay, great. As always, you'll find all the links in the description, whether to Paul or to me and my services. So thank you very much for listening. Paul, thank you very much for coming on my podcast. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.